Pnawn da, croeso I gyfarfod Cyffredinol Blynyddol cyntaf, Iechyd a Gofal Digidol Cymru. Simon Jones ydw I, Cadeirydd y Bwrdd. Good afternoon, everyone. We're pleased and proud to welcome you to the first annual general meeting of Digital Health and Care Wales. I'm Simon Jones, Chair of the Board, and to guide us through this afternoon's annual general meeting. Before I start, I would like to thank the huge number of colleagues who've helped put together our first AGM today, both in the presentations and in organising the virtual session that we're part of now. There's a few general housekeeping points I'd just like to go through before we get into the AGM proper. As you know, we're obviously holding today's AGM virtually and broadcasting the meeting live, giving anyone the opportunity to join us in our AGM and observe in real time. You will be possible to view the AGM after today's meeting via our website, clicking on the links through to our YouTube channel, which you'll find, as I say, on the website. We're providing simultaneous translation facilities for this afternoon's AGM, and I know there will be presentations by people using Welsh. So if you'd like to hear an English translation, I will just guide you through that now. If you hover your mouse over your Zoom screen, you'll see a icon in the bottom bar which says Hear Translation. If you click on that and select Hear Translation, then you will get the English translation feed. If you don't need or don't want an English translation, just leave it as original. If I move on then, we've got a question and answer session at the end, and we've had a number of questions submitted to us in advance, but there is an opportunity through today's meeting to ask any questions you'd like, and we'll endeavour to answer those at the end of the AGM. You do that by hovering over the Zoom screen. You'll see a Q&A icon. If you click on the Q&A icon, then you'll be able to submit your question. If you'd like to use the thumbs up facility, then please do, because what I'll try and do then at the end is prioritize those questions which have had the most thumbs up to be asked first and answered first. If we don't get through all the questions at the end, then we will, of course, answer the questions after the meeting, and those answers will be posted along with the video of this of the annual general meeting. It was a great pleasure and a great honour for me to take up the role of chair of DHCW at the beginning of October last year. And I really would like to start by expressing my huge thanks to the interim chair, Bob Hudson. Bob I've known for probably the best part of 30 odd years, working with him in various guises in NHS Wales. And one of the things that attracted me to this role, I have to say, was knowing that all of the processes, the protocols, all of the arrangements that would need to be in place for a wonderfully well governed organisation would be in place. And Bob, I have a huge debt of gratitude to you for going through that process for the first period of the organisation's life. I'd also like to thank at the outset our Chief Executive Officer, Helen Thomas, and her executive team for their vision and unwavering commitment to making a success of DHCW. And I hope through the next hour or so we're going to be able to show you the sorts of things that we've been doing and the successes we've been able to achieve in what is still a short period of time. And of course, I'd also like to thank all the independent members who are going to be introducing themselves in a moment for their commitment to the work of DHCW and all the experience, skills and wisdom and wise counsel they bring with them to those roles. We wouldn't be what we are without the commitment, work and hard work and dedication of all of our staff, nearly 1,000 now. I think we're 3 short of 1,000. And my sincere thanks go to everyone on behalf of the board and myself personally, to all the members of DHCW staff who've worked extremely hard through the year in what have been obviously difficult circumstances in many cases. Many people have joined the organisation and have been working virtually from the day that they joined, and that takes a huge amount of commitment, both by those members of staff and the teams that they've joined. Since joining DHCW as chair, I've been really impressed with the culture and the work ethic of everyone I've met, and everyone who has presented things to us at the board, and everyone I've come across in through the 7 or 8 months that I've been chair. And hopefully, as things get easier over coming months, I'll be able to get out and meet many more people and do it and see the hugely important work that they're doing. Given that what's been happening and what's been going on, and we all know the difficult world that we live in at the moment, not least of which is the pandemic, I think it's particularly important to recognise the efforts of everyone of carrying on their work, and indeed the contribution that we've made to keeping Wales safe and well through the pandemic. And I know that we're going to hear a little bit more about that as we go through this afternoon. We've had to prioritise activities and recruit staff to ensure that we have had the capacity to continue our active work, the things that we're doing, which are outside the pandemic, outside our response to the pandemic, delivering programmes, really critical programmes for health and care in Wales, while still supporting that the response to the pandemic in Wales. And I am very pleased to be able to say that I think the response that we've made, the part that we've played in the response to the pandemic, has been key to the success in Wales of many aspects of that response to the pandemic, not least of which is the test, trace and protect and the vaccination programme, which we were very much at the heart of through the last 2 years. What I'd like to do now is to hand over to Helen Thomas, our Chief Executive, who's going to provide an overview of our 21-22 annual report, and then we'll introduce a number of members of the team to go through some specific aspects of our work. Helen.
Thank you, Simon, and I'm delighted actually to bring the first ever Digital Health and Care Wales annual report and accounts for us as a statutory body, and to reflect on the achievements and the challenges of 21-22 and to look ahead for the next year to 3 years. Today, the AGM is a considerable milestone for us to have the opportunity to reflect collectively and to share those reflections with the public and with all that are listening in. It's been an interesting year for us, hasn't it? And one that I think that has cemented our place, hopefully, as part of the NHS Wales family. But my job for this section is to share with you that the annual report for 21-22 has been published as a single unified document. You can see it in the AGM papers. If you've got access to those, they're on our website and you can download them via the QR code. It'll include the performance report, the accountability report, and the financial statements. And it should be noted that, as Simon pointed out, the performance report acknowledges the ongoing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our service delivery and the actions that we take to ensure essential services have been maintained. And we've been able to achieve quite a lot alongside our role in the response to the pandemic. And we'll hear more on that when we go through the presentation. So just to remind you that the annual report and accounts as a whole must be fair, balanced and understandable. And as the accountable officer, I take personal responsibility for this and the judgments required for determining that it's fair, balanced and understandable. So I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to all colleagues across the organisation, with a special thanks to the staff involved in the delivery of the annual report and accounts. So I'll now hand back to you, Simon, to kick us off on the rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Helen. So there you'll see what we're going to go through today. We're going to give you a little overview of who we are and what we do, as well as share progress against and achievements of our first year as an independent statutory health organisation in Wales. We're also going to talk a little bit, very importantly, about our people, our financial position and our plans for the future. As a new statutory organisation, 2021 was very much a year of defining new and enhancing our governance arrangements for the organisation. We became a formal board on 1st of April 2021, where our executive directors and independent members came together for our first inaugural meeting. At that meeting, standing orders were agreed, which outlines how the organisation should run, as well as approving the policies and procedures adopted as part of the transition from being a hosted organisation to being an independent statutory body. So in terms of what the board does, and we are tasked with formulating strategy and delivery, ensuring accountability and shaping culture. We also provide leadership as a board and direction to the organisation, and play an oversight role in ensuring that the organisation has sound governance arrangements in place. We delegate oversight and scrutiny to committees and advisory groups of the board to ensure that the appropriate controls and systems are in place for the organisation to run effectively. Very importantly, like all health organisations, boards in Wales, we're a unitary board. Executive members and independent members share corporate responsibility for all the decisions and play a key role in monitoring the performance of the organisation, whether they be executive directors or independent members. So who's on our board? You can see there the mugshots of the board members. It's worth pointing out that at the moment we are 2 independent members down for a variety of reasons, all of which are positive in terms of people moving on to new things. The minister is in the process of making appointments to those 2 posts, and we expect them to be appointed to within a matter of weeks. We're very lucky to have a mix of skills and expertise around the table at our board, and we're currently, as I say, in the process of recruiting those 2 independent members and waiting for the ministerial decision on those appointments. If I could ask then the executive directors just to briefly introduce themselves and the roles they undertake, and then I'll ask the independent members to say a few words as well. Helen, perhaps you'd like to start.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Helen Thomas. I'm the Chief Executive of Digital Health and Care Wales.
Hello, I'm Claire Osmondson-Little, and I'm the Executive Director of Finance.
Rydian.
Hello, I'm Rydian Hurl. I'm the Executive Medical Director at Digital Healthcare Wales.
Ifan.
Hello, Ifan Evans ydw i, Cyfarwyddwr Gweithredol Strategol, the Executive Director of Strategy.
Good afternoon, Gareth Davis, the Interim Exec Director of Operations.
Good afternoon, I'm the Director of People in OD, and my name is Sarah Jane Taylor.
Hi, I'm Chris Darling, Board Secretary at Digital Health and Care Wales.
Thank you all. And now I'd like to just ask our independent members to introduce themselves. And I thought what would be nice would be to perhaps to say briefly what attracted them to the role, why they were keen to become a board member of DHCW, and importantly, what impact they really want to be part of the process of DHCW making over the future. And I'll start with our Vice Chair, Ruth.
Thank you, Simon. Prynawn da pawb. I'm Ruth Glazard and I'm Vice Chair of the board. I was attracted by the opportunity to join a board that wasn't traditional within the healthcare sense, because it has people from different professional backgrounds in it with lots of different digital transformation skills. I live in Neath, I'm from South Wales, and I saw DHCW as an opportunity to do something using my professional experience from my career in financial services that could help people across Wales. I want us to transform health and care for everyone in Wales, which sounds cheesy and suspiciously like I've copied it exactly from DHCW's purpose. But as a board member, I wouldn't want to be part of an organisation if it didn't have strong values, which I share. And the NHS means something to us all on a deeply personal level, I think. I'd like my dad to be able to get the support he needs to access healthcare as he gets older. I'd like to stop having to fill out the same form every single time I take one of my kids to the doctor or dentist. I'd like to be able to order prescriptions online, have online appointments, not queue on the phone for hours. I'd like to find a dentist before all my teeth fall out. I'd like to not die of cancer. And all of these are problems that everybody has, and all of these are problems that digital transformation can help to solve, and that's what we do at DHCW.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Rowan.
Thank you, Simon. My name is Rowan Gardner, and I'm one of the independent members appointed in April 2020. I was attracted to the opportunity to serve on this board. A bit like Ruth, I have aging parents who are in Wales, and I want my family and the rest of the Welsh population to receive the very best evidence-based healthcare, for the vision of Nye Bevan to be as relevant today as it was many years ago when the NHS was created, not very far from where I was born in Tredegar. And also because I have over 30 years experience of working with data and analytics to support healthcare innovation and drug discovery with companies and organizations around the world. And because my outside interests, all of which are declared, I'm still involved with that innovation in Africa through the work I do with the Cartier Women's Initiative, and through my role as a co-founder of Precision Life. And the impact I want to make is by helping the exec team be the very best that they can be by challenging them. They know I'm very good at challenging, by sharing my network and experiences and knowledge, so that we build really strong, considered plans that we can share and communicate across the wider NHS to transform healthcare at pace through digital.
Thank you, Rowan. Marion.
Pnawn da bawb, Marian Wyn-Jones dwi yn manghefndir i ym darlledu a chyfathrebu. Dwi hefyd wedi gweithio fel aelod anweithredol o Fwrdd Iechyd Mwyaf Cymru yng Ngogledd Cymru, ag oherwydd hynny, mae'n debyg bod fi'n gwybod cystal â neb yr heriau a'r rhwystrau sy'n wynebu'r gwasanaeth iechyd yng Nghymru. Felly, dwi'n awyddus i ddefnyddio'n sgiliau am rhofiad i helpu'r sefydliad mae ail ddychmygu'r gwasanaeth iechyd yng Nghymru. Fel Cymraes Gymraeg, dwi'n arbennig o awyddus i sicrhau yn bod ni fel corff yn ymateb i anghenion siaradwyr Cymraeg ble bynnag y bod nhw'n byw yng Nghymru. Ac dwi'n meddwl bod yna gyfle gwirioneddol fan hyn i'r corff yma fod yn draws newidiol, i ni gael gwell gwybodaeth, gwell data, ac gwneud gwell defnydd o'r dechnoleg ddigidol ddiweddara. A dwi'n meddwl os cawn ni hwn yn iawn, mi fydd hyn yn draws newidiol i'r gwasanaeth yng Nghymru ac i bobl Cymru ym mhob cwr y Cymru.
Thank you very much, Marion. And finally, David.
Thank you, Simon. My name is David Salway. I'm an independent board member. My background is in IT and digital. I retired from Rolls-Royce in 2019, having spent 17 years in the company, helping them transform through digital, building digital capability to deliver business outcomes. And what attracted me to DSCW was it was on a very similar journey to the one I'd been on at Rolls-Royce. So it gave me an opportunity to leverage all of my expertise to the benefit of DHCW and help it become a trusted strategic partner for the wider NHS in Wales. What would I like to help achieve? Well, I think DHCW has got a key role to play in helping deliver the Welsh Government's Healthier Wales strategy. And I'd like to use my expertise to help DHCW build that digital capability necessary to deliver that, become a trusted strategic partner, and to create value from data.
Thank you very much, David. And as I mentioned, there are currently 2 IM vacancies that I very much hope there'll be people with us at the next AGM who'll be able to introduce themselves. If you'd like to find out anything further about the work of the board or our board members, then please take a look at our website where you'll find further information. There's more information. And now I'd like to hand back to Helen, the Chief Executive, who's going to talk us through who we are, what we do, and where we're going. Thank you, Helen.
So yes, I'm really pleased to be able to share the achievements of the first year of Digital Health and Care Wales at this our first AGM. So a bit of a milestone for us today. So firstly, I'd like to show you how we fit into the NHS Wales family. So we are one of 2 special health authorities in Wales. There are 3 NHS trusts and 7 health boards that provide care, health and care across for all residents of Wales, and we support in our specialist duties in terms of provision of the digital offer to support health and care. As with all other organisations in Wales, we're accountable to Welsh Government, and we work in partnership to deliver care to the citizens of Wales. So as well as our NHS Wales partners, we also work with local authorities, Social Care Wales, Third Sector, the digital ecosystem at the Life Sciences Hub, academia, and our commercial partners, to name but a few. And our vision for Digital Health and Care Wales is to provide world-leading services and to empower people of Wales to live healthier lives. And it sounds like a grand vision, but actually that is what we are striving to achieve in this organisation, and we will do that through partnership with all of our health and care colleagues and drive the next generation of digital and data services for improved health care and well-being, importantly for the benefit of everyone in Wales. And we felt it was really important, actually, in the early stages of the organisation to be really clear as setting our forward vision and to set out what we're here to do, what is our core purpose. So we spent a lot of time on that in terms of developing our vision and our core purpose. And why we are here. So our core purpose is to transform health and care for everyone in Wales. We are a key part of the NHS Wales family, and our work has a demonstrable impact, as seen actually through the 100+ operational systems and services that are used daily by thousands of staff across the health and care sector. So what do we do? So we support with the delivery of high quality systems and secure access to information about patients available wherever and whenever that information is needed, and actually wherever our clinician colleagues want to work. We deliver new digital solutions that help clinical staff care for patients, including new digital services for nurses. That's been highly successful this year, which you will hear about. Critical care units, hospital pharmacy, prescribing and medicines management, and community care, to name but a few. We use data to provide insight and to improve outcomes and support how health and care services are delivered and accessed by patients. And we use digital and data standards to allow for faster development and delivery of digital services. And we protect our valuable data assets, and cyber security and information governance are at the heart and our key priorities in everything that we do. And we also provide resilient technical infrastructure and the platforms needed to use our services and use the highest standards of security to enable the delivery of care across Wales. And we've adopted a cloud-first approach. And we also help Welsh people to manage their own health and care and recovery from illness by putting health services. The plan is to put health services in their pocket, so to give the people of Wales access to their own digital health and care record and apps from any device, making it easier to connect with health and care services. So, and actually all of that activity is driven by that core focus of helping to improve health and care for the citizens of Wales. So in order to bring some of that to life, actually, I'd like now to hand over to my colleague, Rhydian Hurl, who is our Medical Director here at Digital Health and Care Wales.
Good afternoon all, pleasure to be here. What makes up your healthcare record? Well, it's a combination of stories, the documentation about things that have happened to you in the past, tests, both previous and new requests, and imaging. And that healthcare record needs to be available wherever you present and need and access care. And that can be in the community, that can be in your GP surgery, or that could be in the hospital. What you see in front of you are some brands of our blended approach of commercial and homegrown systems that present your care record in the environment that you happen to be treated in. On the left-hand side, our GP systems are commercially provided, and they contain the foundations of your clinical record. Next to that, the Welsh Clinical Portal is a secondary care product that is built by users across Wales with their design, allowing access to a vast amount of information, including things like your medicines and your test results, your x-rays, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The journey through systems needs to be recorded to make sure that patients get to the right place in a timely manner. And the Welsh Patient Administration System, again, another homegrown product, allows the safe transfer of you on your journey. The community care system provides care in the community from a number of different providers visible through a single interface. And finally, the quite exciting thing on the horizon, the digital services for public and patients, the soon to be delivered NHS Wales app that will give you access to elements of your care record, allowing you to navigate what can sometimes be complex journeys along the healthcare pathway. Next slide, please. So some of the things that are worth considering is care is often divided into emergency, that is, I need treatment today, or elective care, where there's an element of waiting. One of the highlights in the last year is the fact that we've been able to work with our Welsh ambulance service colleagues to deliver an electronic patient record for the ambulance service, which is visible within the care record if you're unfortunate enough to need their service and be taken to hospital. And I have sort of personal examples of care that I've delivered that has improved because this record, which is information collected by highly skilled paramedics who are at the scene of the journey, as it were, has enabled me to do things in a better way. The trauma network across Wales, you see a picture of an air ambulance. It may surprise you to know that clinical colleagues can access that record on an iPad as they travel above your city and countryside. And on the left-hand side is a picture depicting the complexity of intensive care, one of the most frightening environments for patients to experience, a complex care environment where lots of specialties come together to try and help people recover. And we're in the process of delivering systems that allow the remote monitoring of patients by certain health professionals to assist local teams in the delivery of care, allowing us to use that resource wisely and improve outcomes. Next slide, please. I talked about the basis of the record, including tests. So I'm very proud that we're one of the, in fact, probably the only nation that I know where sitting at this computer in front of me through a single application, a single login, I can see every single blood test on every single patient. And I can also do the same for imaging, which is amazing because every single image that is taken anywhere in Wales is visible through the same application, and that has massive benefits to care as people move around the system. We are heavily involved in the support of the modernization of endoscopy services and will be a key enabler in the development of regional diagnostic centres if and when they happen. And that information, again, will be recorded with images that will be an important part of the care record. And probably one of the most important things that will come in the next 5 years as regarding diagnostics is the move away from the traditional slides associated with microscopes to make diagnosis on tissue samples that have been taken to digital cellular pathology, which will allow the movement of those images across and through the system to get second, third opinions, to get the diagnosis, more likely to get the diagnosis correct in a more timely fashion. So there are exciting things ahead. Next slide, please. We also provide what might be considered not so exciting things like automation of pharmacy systems to improve stock control, real-time dispensing of medicines, a successful program rolled out across Wales. We have developed and exported to a certain extent the award-winning Choose Wales system, which means that patients can be signposted to the highly skilled pharmacy network across Wales for things like common ailments, for flu vaccines, for emergency contraception, and other things that mean that patients don't need to access the GP surgeries, wait there, or try and get into secondary care. And in the top right-hand corner, you will see the Welsh immunisation system. It's worth remembering that this put Wales at top of the league, #1 in the world in terms of getting jabs into arms. This is a system that was built with our users, for our users, and has been highly successful, the Welsh immunisation system, and the delivery of a pandemic record. And then finally, in the bottom corner, the logo associated with digital medicines. This exciting program will deliver lots of benefits, which we'll touch upon later on, regarding electronic prescribing and the movement of prescriptions around the system, and a source of truth for your medicine record, so that wherever you present for care, the medicines that you're currently on are visible to those care professionals who are looking after you. Next slide. Thank you.
Diolch, Rhydian, and thank you for going through that. I think it demonstrates that some of the breadth and the impact actually that our digital services can have on the health and care pathways for the people of Wales. And actually, a number of those have been award-winning over the past 12 months. And there's a full list of our awards and accolades on our website. So now, for this section, actually, I'd like to stop talking for a minute and hand over to a video that we've prepared to celebrate our first year. So if we play the video now, please. Thank you. How would I sum up our first year in a word? I'd say transformational.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of in what we've achieved in the first year is that we're working as equal partners with all the other organisations in Wales with a clearly understood common goal, which is how can digital help transform the services that the citizens of Wales get in their health and care.
If we consider what's happened over the last year with during the pandemic, and what Digital Healthcare Wales has been able to deliver to help the delivery of the vaccine programme, we were #1 in the world. And there's a reason for that, because we worked with our users, we collaborated across different healthcare sectors to deliver something that did the job.
It's been a fantastic first year. I don't think any of us really realised how successful the Welsh Nursing Care Record was going to be, and how staff have completely transformed their ways of working.
Within the clinical environment, nurses really picked up that process of going from paper to digital quite quickly, without any form of concern really, and I think again that's a success of the way that digital has supported us through that process.
Looking back at our first year, one of the highlights for me was the work that we've done to improve the resilience of our systems, both cyber and other resilience. We undertook a really substantial data centre move over the summer last year, and we did that without disrupting any of our services.
The awards that we've won, I guess, are an indication of some of the good work that we've been doing. So recently won the People's Choice Award for Impact at the Digital Health Awards. Really proud of the team and the wider organisation and what it's taken to develop and deliver that. It's underpinned the entire mass vaccination programme for Wales. The Welsh Nursing Care Record is probably another that I would highlight. Again, award-winning. It won the UK IT Industry Best IT Health Project Award last year. I mean, you know, we've competed against everyone in the UK and won that award.
I would say Digital Health and Care Wales have to be considerably proud of their staff. People behind the scenes who've actually been supporting the system, who've been working together sometimes overtime and tirelessly out of hours, trying to ensure that systems are available, they perform as expected, and the data is not compromised.
It's been an amazing year to be working in Digital Health and Care Wales. We've kept on supporting the whole of the NHS and social care through an extraordinary time, and we've kept on finding out what needs to be done, responding to that, and being able to be a support across the whole system.
Delivery of the data platform and the data architecture for NHS Wales is a huge priority for us.
In terms of the future for Digital Healthcare Wales, I see the organisation growing stronger and stronger. I see the partnership and stakeholder engagement that we have delivering some real benefits for individuals and citizens across Wales.
When I look back in, say, 4 years' time as to at the achievements of DHCW, I know that what I will see will be huge transformation of the way in which we use digital to support health and care in Wales. And the really important characteristic of that transformation is that it would have put the person, the individual, at the very heart of anything that is done.
Thank you. So that we created the video in April to celebrate our first year, and I think it does capture some of the breadth of the work that we've been doing over this last year, and it really is lovely to see our staff on that video and how proud they are of the work they've done. And actually, I would endorse what Naveen said there on the video. We are immensely proud of the work that our teams have done. It's all down to the work of our dedicated, talented staff. So as I said in the video, actually, I think our first year has been transformational, and we've had a tremendous impact on, as a digital organisation, on at the NHS Wales journey over this last year. So without further ado, now I'll introduce Ifan Evans, who is our Director of Strategy, to go through more details around some of our flagship projects and programmes.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Helen. For those of you who have joined us late, there is a translation functionality on Zoom, because I'll be speaking in Welsh through my section. So I'll just give you a second to switch to that. A tra bod fi'n gwneud hynny, gai atgoffa bobl bod yna gwestiynau ac ateb ar ddiwedd y sesiwn. Os ydych chi eisiau gwneud hynny, wedyn cliciwch ar Q&A yn y rhyngwyneb Zoom, cynnigiwch eich gwestiynau, a wedyn byddwn ni'n dod nôl at reina at ddiwedd y gyfarfod. Mae Rhyddian wedi sôn am nifer o'r cynlluniau sydd gyda ni a mi o'n nhw yn y fideo ardderchog yna i ni newydd weld. Dwi'n eisiau sôn am fanylion technegol bob gwasanaeth sydd gyda ni. Mae'r ymhell dros 100 o wasanaethau gwahanol, bydde hynna'n cymryd gweddill y diwrnod, dwi'n siŵr. Be wi eisiau gwneud yw tynnu allan rhywfaint ynglyn â cyfeiriad strategol sydd gyda ni i le ni'n mynd dros blynyddoedd nesaf, ac yn arbennig sut ni'n gweithio gyda partneriaid a sut ni wedi gweithio gyda partneriaid ar rhai o'r prif raglenni sydd gyda ni lle ni'n dilifro nhw yn genedlaethol yn gweithio law yn llaw gyda byrddau iechyd a gydag ymddiriedolaethau. Cyn bod fi'n cyrraedd at hynna, mae angen cynsail gadarn iawn ar gyfer y gwaith i ni'n gwneud. I ni'n darparu gwasanaethau digidol sydd yn rhedeg ar seilwaith data, seiliaeth technoleg gwybodaeth a nifer o bethau eraill, a i ni yn cyflwyno yn gweithio'n agos iawn gyda cyfarwyddwyr digidol ar draws yr NHS, rhai newidiadau i'r ffordd i ni'n gwneud hynny, a ceisio gosod rhai egwyddorion newydd. Yn gyntaf, ynglyn â argaeledd a llif gwybodaeth, does na ddim byd sydd yn bwysicach mewn gofal iechyd na bod y gwybodaeth berthnasol wrth law i'r person sydd yn darparu'r gofal hynny, bod e'n gywir a bod e'n gyflawn a bod e'n hygyrch iddyn nhw. Felly, trwy'r cofnod iechyd a gofal cyfansawdd sydd gyda ni ar draws Cymru na Thryddian rhoi rhai esiample, i ni'n gweithio yn galed iawn ar hynny i sicrhau bod gwybodaeth yn gallu llifo o un sefydliad i'r llall a bod e'n dod nôl at gronfeydd cenedlaethol. Y ffordd i ni'n gwneud hynny yw drwy sicrhau bod yna bensaerniaeth agored ar gyfer ein system sydd yn diffinio sut mae gwahanol elfennau yn gweithio gyda'i gilydd. Mae gyda ni'r syniad yma o blociau adeiladu pensaernïol, a mae rheina wedi cael eu disgrifio yn weddol fanwl, a mae gyda nhw APIs ar y wyneb sydd yn galluogi systemau amrywiol i drosi gwybodaeth ac i handlo gwybodaeth nôl ac ymlaen. Bwysig iawn bod ni'n gallu darparu hynna yn genedlaethol. Mae rhaid I bawb ddefnyddio'r un bensaerniaeth a'r un safonau ar gyfer y gwaith hynny. Mae safonau yn allweddol I hynny lle fedrwn ni'n defnyddio safonau rhyngwladol neu safonau Prydeinig, achos I ni'n cyfnewid gwybodaeth gyda Lloegr, gyda rhannau eraill o Deyrnas Unedig, neu I ni'n llunio yn safonau I ni'n hunain, a ni wedi bod yn gwneud hynny am dros ddegawd yn effeithiol, I ni'n rhoi mwy a mwy o bwyslais ar hynny. Mae'r gwaith hynny o ddiffinio rheolau safonau yn asio gyda llwyfan data, data platform yn Saesneg, yn Gymraeg weithiau hoffod gair llwyfan, stage am ddata, achos mae hynny'n I gyflwyno fe mewn ffordd sydd yn addas I gael I ddefnyddio, fel bod bobl yn ei weld ac yn gwneud rhywbeth gydag troi fe mewn I wybodaeth. Yn amlwg iawn ni'n gweithio'n ofalus iawn gyda'r partneriad I wneud y gwaith yna I gyd. A ti cefnu hyn I gyd, mae yna newid mawr yn digwydd yn y byd digidol at ei gilydd, sef symud o'n canolfannau data ni, a rhai ni'n darparu ac yn rhedeg yr un oedd Carwyn yn sôn am yn y fideo, wrth bod ni'n symud yn gwasanaethau ni i'r cwmwl. So, yn ddiweddar, mae'r bwrdd wedi cytuno strategaeth symud i'r cwmwl. Mae tua chwarter yn gwasanaethau ni ar hyn o bryd wedi symud I wasanaethau cwmwl, a mi fydd fwy o hynna'n digwydd dros y blynyddoedd sydd I ddod. Wrth bod ni'n gwneud hyn I gyd, wrth gwrs, mae rhaid I ni yn genedlaethol, ac eto yn gweithio gyda'r partneriad, gymryd lot fawr o ofal ynglyn â sicrwydd, sefydlogrwydd data, diogelwch cyber, diogelwch gwybodaeth bersonol. I ni'n falch iawn bod ni yn darparu'r ganolfan, canolfan cyber ddiogelwch genedlaethol NHS Cymru ar ran y Llywodraeth, sydd yn rhoi sicrwydd I ni ac hefyd I gyrff iechyd eraill yn y teulu NHS Cymru, bod ni yn cyrraedd y safonau sydd angen. Mae hynny'n waith parhaol trwy'r amser. Mae gyda ni system, os I ni'n cyfnewid gwybodaeth trwy'r amser, dim ond un bwlch yn y wal sydd rhaid cael, a I ni ddim ond o'r grif ar ddolen wanach sydd gyda ni, felly ni'n gyd yn cefnogi'n gilydd yn gwneud hynny. A wedyn yn olaf o'n i'n sôn am yr isadeiliaeth technoleg gwybodaeth, ganolfannau data sydd gyda ni, y cyswllt sydd gyda ni, y gwasanaethau technoleg I ni'n darparu allan I wasanaethau gofal cychwynnol er enghraifft, a nifer o bethau eraill. Llawer iawn o waith. Does dim un o'n gwasanaethau digidol ni'n medru gweithio heb bod hwn I gyd yn ffit ac yn gweithio yn dda iawn. Gyda hynna, os allai ddod ymlaen i'r sleid nesaf, os gwelwch yma. Next slide, please. So, un o'r enghreifftiau cyntaf wys y sôn am yw y cofnod gofal nyrsio Cymru. Roedd Fran Bydl yn sôn amdano fe yn y fideo. A pethau dwi eisiau tynnu allan am hwn yw y dull wnaethon ni fynd o'i chwmpas I, sôn am sut wnaethon ni weithio'n agos iawn gyda defnyddwyr ac yn arbennig gyda defnyddwyr yn y gymuned nyrsio. Mae'r gymuned nyrsio yng Nghymru wedi cael ei gryfhau yn sylweddol iawn dros y blynyddoedd diwethaf. Mi dreulio ni bron I flwyddyn yn gweithio gyda miloedd o nyrsys ar draws Cymru mwyn safoni y ffurflenni papur oedd yn cael ei defnyddio dros 200 o ffurflenni gwahanol mewn tua 20 amrywiaeth o bob un o'r ffurflenni hynny mwyn cysoni yn gyntaf ar un ffurflen genedlaethol ar bapur cyn I ni drosglwyddo hwnna i'r platfform digidol. Nath yna wneud dau beth. Un, datblygu perthynas agos iawn gyda'r defnyddwyr a sicrhau bod gyda ni'r cysondeb ar safonau hynny oedd angen, ac yn ail, sicrhau bod gyda ni gefnogaeth y gymuned broffesiynol wrth bod ni'n dod ati I rôl o mas y system newydd. Cafodd y system I lawnsio haf 2021, sy'n llynedd, a erbyn hyn, dim ond bryn flwyddyn ar ôl hynny, mae'r gwasanaeth yn fyw yn 6 allan o'n 7 bwrdd iechyd, a I ni newydd gael cytundeb ar symud I un system gyfansawdd ar draws Cymru yn hytrach na fersiynau gwahanol, felly byddwn ni'n cysoni ar un system. Mae tîm newid busnes y DHDW wedi hyfforddi dros 2,000 o nyrsys mewn 24 ysbyty gwahanol, ac erbyn hyn, mae da ni 4,000 o bobl yn defnyddio, 4,000 o nyrsys yn defnyddio y system hyn, ac yn trosi gwybodaeth o un, nid jyst o un ysbyty i'r llall, ond o un rhanbarth i'r llall ar draws Cymru. Mae fe'n gyflawniad rhyfeddol am bryn 12 mis fel rhaglen trawsnewid digidol, a dyna pam mae wedi ennill gwobrau genedlaethol a gath Fran ei enwebu yn un o'r 10 uchaf, y rhestr fel o 10 am y digital leaders yn y Deyrnas Unedig. Yn anffodus nath I ddim ennill dylai fod wedi yn ddiweddar. Felly mae hwn yn enghraifft o sut ni'n gweithio'n agos iawn gyda tîmoedd allan ar draws yr NHS yn ysbytau a yn y byrdau iechyd. Hefyd, os allai ddod i'r sleid nesaf os gwelwch yna, o ran enghraifft arall o symud rhywbeth allan ar draws Cymru yn gyflym iawn, o fewn blwyddyn yn unig, ni wedi darparu gwasanaeth rheoli stoc fferyllfeydd ysbyty newydd ar draws y 7 bwrdd iechyd, cael ei ddefnyddio mewn 24 ysbyty, bron i 2,000 o ddefnyddwyr ar gyfer gwasanaeth hyn, a cwbl o cychwyn i'r diwedd wedi cael ei ddarparu mewn blwyddyn. Dyw hwn ddim yn system bydde defnyddwyr yn gweld, hynny yw bydde'r cyhoedd ddim fel rheol yn gweld hwn, ond mae hwn yn system hynod o bwysig. Mae fe'n greiddiol i'n uchelgais ni o ddarparu meddyginiaethau digidol ar draws yr NHS. Mae rhaid medru olrhain stoc yn fanwl mwyn darparu, a oedd yn bwysig iawn. A peth i dynnu allan yw eto y ffordd ni wedi gweithio law yn llaw gyda tîmoedd ar draws Cymru i gyd yn hynod o effeithiol ac yn gyflym. A wy'n credu bod lot o hwnna'n tynnu ar y brofiad o ymateb i'r pandemig, a byddai'n sôn tipyn bach mwy am hwnnw mewn eiliad. Ond cyn i fi ddod at hwnna, os allai ddod at y sleid nesaf, dwi eisiau sôn am fwy na just ysbytau, achos yn amlwg mae gwasanaethau iechyd yn ymestyn ymhell tu hwnt i'r ysbyty, a fe'n blaenoriaeth yn Cymru iachach bod ni yn ceisio symud gwasanaethau i ffwrdd. A ni wedi, fel corff, yn cynnwys corff raglenol enwyd yng Nghymru wedi bod yn gwneud llawer iawn mwy o ran darparu gwasanaethau technoleg wybodaeth allan mewn i surgeries, mewn i gofal cychwynnol. I ni'n gwneud hynny gyda'n partneriad masnachol ni, Sejdim Imes ac yn ddiweddar TPP. Ni sy'n darparu ac yn rheoli yr holl technoleg sydd yn bob surgery yng Nghymru yn cynnwys y printers, y desktop, yr offer, y meddalwedd a phopeth arall yn helpu doctoriaid i wneud i gwaith nhw'n well, ond hefyd trwy hynny yn cael gwasanaethau sydd yn fwy cyson ar draws Cymru a felly yn fwy effeithiol. A ni hefyd yn gwneud cryn-dipyn yn fferyllfeydd. Mae'r stat welwch chi ar y sgrin yn dangos bod yn agos iawn i 100% o fferyllfeydd yng Nghymru yn defnyddio'r gwasanaeth dewis doeth, dewis fferyllfa, sy'n galluogi fferyllwyr i ddarparu rhywfaint o wasanaethau yn cynnwys rhywfaint o prescription. Felly, llynedd dros y 12 mis diwetha, ni wedi darparu gwasanaeth prescriptionwyr annibynnol sydd yn galluogi bobl sydd yn gweithio yn y gymuned i ddarparu presgripsiwn i gleifion. A mae hynna wrth gwrs yn cymryd pwysau i ffwrdd o doctoriaid ac oddi wrth ysbyty. Mae'r gwaith hyn o ran partneri gyda fferyllfeydd yn bwysig iawn achos bod yna fwy i ofal cychwynnol na doctoriaid ar meddygon teulu. Ac yn olaf yn y maes hyn, eto wy'n credu'n weddol unigryw i Gymru, ni'n ceisio yn uchelgais i'w ymestyn y record, y cofnod gofal iechyd, tu hwnt i iechyd ac allan mewn i'r gymuned. Ni'n defnyddio gwasanaeth gwybodaeth gofal cymunedol Cymru, WCCIS, i wneud hynny. WCCIS yn raglen sydd wedi bod yn rhedeg ers sawl blwyddyn. Ar hyn o bryd mae 19 o gyrff yn defnyddio fe allan o y 29, hynny yw 22 awdurdod lleol a 7 bwrdd iechyd. Mae 19 o'r hynny ni'n defnyddio fe ar hyn o bryd. Mae'r nifer hynny yn parhau i gynyddu. Yn ystod yr wythnosau nesaf, bydd yn Erin Bevan yn mynd yn fyw gyda'i ddarpariaeth o WCCIS. Mae 13,000 o bobl yn defnyddio WCCIS ar draws Cymru. Erbyn diwedd mis Awst, mi fydd 16,000 o bobl mewn 19 sefydliad. Mae rhain yn systemau sylweddol iawn gyda llawer iawn o ddefnyddwyr sydd yn helpu ni ddod ar cofnod iechyd a gofal cyfansawdd at ei gilydd. A'r peth wi eisiau pwysleis yn mwy o dem yw bod rhain i gyd yn gweithio trwy partneriaeth agos iawn gyda'r defnyddwyr proffesiynol sy'n darparu gwasanaethau. Offer digidol i ni'n darparu, nhw sy'n darparu gwasanaethau iechyd, gan ddefnyddio'r offer hynny, mae'n holl bwysig bod ni'n gweithio'n agos iawn gyda nhw. Wi eisiau sôn rhywfaint am y pandemig, a wedyn mae da ni fideo arall, a na i jyst cyflwyno hwnna yn un o'r porth clinigol. Ond o'r pandemig, mae gymaint o ddysgu wedi bod o'r pandemig. Cychwyn y pandemig, o'n i'n gweithio yn y Llywodraeth, yn gweithio'n agos iawn gyda Helen fel prif weithredwr a gyda tîmoedd ar draws DHCW. Mae'r gymhariaeth gyda Lloegr, nath Rydyn sôn am, a ni'n mynd credu, allwn ni gymryd cryn-dipyn o falchder ynddo. Wi eisiau sôn am ddoi system yn arbennig. Un yw'r system immuneiddio Cymru, WIS yw'r ni'n galw fe, oherwydd bod y llythrennau system immuneiddio Cymru yn gwneud sic. Dwi'n credu bod hwnna'n addas am wasanaeth digidol iechyd, felly na i alw fe'n WIS. WIS sydd wedi bod yn gyfrifol fel llwyfan am ddarparu'r holl wasanaeth brechlynnu yng Nghymru. Ni wedi darparu 7 miliwn o frechiadau trwy hwn. Mae'r system yn cael ei ddefnyddio yn bob un o'r canolfannau torfol, bob un o'r gwasanaethau eraill, i gyd yn fyw dros y we. Mae'r adborth gan ddefnyddwyr ar draws Cymru os ydym nhw'n defnyddio hwn yn rhoi clod rhyfeddol i'r tîmoedd sydd wedi gweithio mor galed yn DHCW, geiriau fel game changing a bod e'n paradigm shift bod ni'n gallu darparu gwasanaeth fel hyn. A mae'r un gwasanaeth hyn yn dod â popeth at ei gilydd, y data, yr apwyntiadau, llythyron, negesu text, mae cyswllt yn y cefndir gyda pas Covid a gyda'r cofnod iechyd a gofal sydd gyda ni yng Nghymru. Dyma sydd wedi galluogi ni, nid yn unig i fod yn gynt na rhannau eraill o Bryden, ond hefyd i ddefnyddio'r brechlyn yn fwy effeithiol drwy alw bobl nôl mewn ar ddiwedd y prynhawn mwyn defnyddio unrhyw dosis o ar ôl a pob math o bethau eraill. Mae wedi bod yn hynod o effeithiol ac yn allweddol i'n ymateb. A wedyn y system olrhain cyswllt, contact tracing, system genedlaethol, cael ei ddefnyddio gan 31 sefydliad, sef yr awdurdodau lleol i gyd, y cyrff NHS i gyd, DHCW a gofal a iechyd cyhoeddus Cymru. Un platfform o'r cwmwl wedi ddarparu mewn 40 diwrnod o'r cychwyn i pan math e'n fyw gyda 2,500 o ddefnyddwyr sydd yn rhyfeddol yn ei hun. A wedyn, ond wy'n credu beth sy'n wirioneddol arbennig amdano fe, yw gyntaf y cyflawniad uchel. Dros 90% o bobl gyda test positif yn cael eu cysylltu, a dros 90 o'r bobl maen nhw yn adrodd fel cysylltiadau, sef secondary contacts, dros 90% o'r rheini hefyd yn cael eu cysylltu. Dros filiwn o bobl wedi cael eu cysylltu trwy'r platfform hyn, a'r ganran yna o 90%, a'n allweddol iddo fe fod yn effeithiol. Ac yn Lloegr yn aml iawn, oedd y test and trace system yn cyrraedd 70-75%. Mae'n cryn dipyn o wyddoniaeth ynglyn â lefelau sydd angen i cyrraedd. A mae'n dystiolaeth gryf bod ni wedi bod yn cyrraedd y lefelau angenreidiol i wneud gwahaniaeth. A fel bod hwnna ddim yn newyddion digon da yn ei hun, ni hefyd wedi gallu gwneud hynny ar gost cryn dipyn yn is o'i gymharu. Fedrwn ni gymharu yn glir gyda Lloegr oherwydd y boniad consequential, y ffordd mae Cymru yn cael arian. Mae'r Financial Times wedi rhoi adroddiad yn cymharu costau Cymru a Lloegr y pen, fesul pen, a'r PPE a contact tracing. Ni wedi darparu gwasanaeth tua hanner y cost y pen yn Lloegr, a ni wedi cael outcomes neu allbynau gwell o'r gwasanaeth. So o ran gwerth ymarian, i ni wedi arbed dros hanner biliwn. Mae'r symiau fan hyn yn anferth, wrth gwrs, dros 500 miliwn o bunnau wedi cael ei arbed, oherwydd bod y gwasanaethau hyn, PPE a olrhain cyswllt yng Nghymru, wedi cael ei dilifro'n fwy effeithiol, a Llywodraeth Cymru wedi wedyn gallu defnyddio ariannau i roi mwy o gefnogaeth i fusnesau ac i wneud pethau eraill yng Nghymru. Wy'n mynd i gymryd y clod i gyd am digidol, ond bydden ni ddim wedi gallu dilifro mor effeithiol a mor effeithlon a hynny a cael y fath yna o werth ymarian heb y gwasanaeth digidol yn y cefndir. Mae'n dysgu ni yn sylweddol iawn o ran sut i wneud hynna. Mae'r profiad o'r pandemig wedi trawsnewid siwt gymaint i ni ac i'r NHS yn ei cyfanrwydd. A wedyn yn olaf, wi jyst eisiau sôn am y porth clinigol. Os oes na flagship product i gael gyda ni, wedyn mae'n siŵr mae'r porth clinigol yw hwnnw. Cael ei ddefnyddio ar draws ysbytai i gyd, mae bobl fel rhyddion yn ddefnyddio hwn o ddydd i ddydd, a dyma'r ffordd maen nhw'n cael mynediad at y cofnod ac at yr holl ddata sydd yn y cofnod. Mae 31,000 o bobl yn defnyddio porth clinigol, yn ganran sylweddol iawn o'r staff ar draws yr NHS, 100,000 o bobl sy'n gweithio yn NHS Cymru. Felly mae treian ohonyn nhw'n defnyddio y system hyn yn feunyddiol, mae'n holl bwysig iddyn nhw, wedi ddatblygu i gyd yn tu mewn in-house product wedi ddatblygu gan a'i gynnal gan DHCW. Dyma mae doctoriaid yn defnyddio i reoli llif gwaith y claf trwy'r ysbyty. Dyma maen nhw'n defnyddio i weld y cofnodion i gyd ar draws Cymru. Maen nhw'n gweld y canlyniadau, y profion hynny, maen nhw'n gweld radioleg, maen nhw'n gweld delweddau, maen nhw'n gallu blaenoriaethu, a maen nhw'n gallu cyfeirio trosglwyddo cleifion i cydweithwyr nhw neu allan o'r ysbyty a nôl i gofal cychwynnol. Mae hwnna'n system holl bwysig, a mae maint y system hefyd yn eitha sylweddol, a mae fe'n tyfu yn gyflym, fel welwch chi ar y sgrin ar hyn o bryd. Ar hyn o bryd o ran dogfennau, yn agos at 40 miliwn o ddogfennau, a o ran canlyniadau profion, 220 miliwn ohonyn nhw. A mae'r cynnydd un blwyddyn yw hwn, felly ni'n mynd lan o ran 10% bob blwyddyn. Mae jyst yn dangos faint o wybodaeth sydd yn y system hyn, a mae hwn yn wybodaeth sydd yn werthfawr i unrhyw un sydd yn darparu gofal, a mae fe'n gwella gofal cleifion yng Nghymru, mae'n arbed amser, a mae fe'n gwneud y system at ei gilydd yn fwy effeithiol. Felly, wy'n mynd i stopio fyna, achos y pwynt dwi eisiau gwneud yw, bod rhain i gyd yn enghreifftiau o'n partneriaeth agos iawn ni gyda byrdde iechyd. Ni'n gweithio lawan llaw gyda'r system, ni'n helpu nhw i ddarparu yn well. A gyda hynna, wi jyst trosglwyddo, mae yna fideo neis ar Porth Clinigol Cymru, felly na i stop o siarad a na trosglwyddo i'r fideo.
The Welsh Clinical Portal is fundamental for presenting the information. I think it's essential for the provision of healthcare in Wales.
Having everything electronically in one place means that I don't miss really important information that could make a huge difference to a decision I make on a surgical patient.
Welsh Clinical Portal is a key tool in the delivery of care because of the content, the rich content that it has from various healthcare settings along patient journeys.
The Welsh Clinical Portal is a view on information about the patients, such as their demographics, where they are on a ward or their outpatient clinic appointment, for example, which consultant they might be under. It's also their entire diagnostics record, and it's also their digitised documents as well. So it's an all-encompassing view of a single care record for the patient.
A Welsh Clinical Portal is much faster because all information is there, up to date and on time.
The move from paper to a digital solution is always a challenge. However, the Welsh Clinical Portal has been designed in a way that should be simple to use, easy to follow and intuitive to the user.
We use agile methodology to develop our products. We hold user groups to be able to engage with clinicians who are our users of the product. We invite them to these user groups and we listen to them, and they tell us what they would like from our products, how they want them to look and behave.
I really do promote it amongst my colleagues. Why are you using that system? That one's old. Use this one, it's got everything on it. You don't have to keep clicking between different systems. It's all there.
In my daily clinical activity, I use the Welsh Patient Referral Service, which is accessible via Welsh Clinical Portal. Those are the GP referrals that come in a standard format, which means we can direct patients to the appropriate pathways so that they get their diagnosis and their treatment faster.
There's a part of it on the document section where you can add a clinical note, which will keep people informed about what's been going on if you see a particular patient.
Clinical note aspect of it is what I find particularly useful. In my role, I perform flexible cystoscopies. When I see the patients, I can put a note on the system that's accessible for anybody then to see. It's much faster for any information. You haven't got to go and request x-rays. We used to have them printed out for each clinic, so you'd have the big x-rays in front of you. Don't need that now. You can go into the clinical portal, click on there and view all the x-rays.
I use the Clinical Portal mobile app, and it means that when I'm not in the hospital, I can easily put in my password to the mobile app and I can see immediately what patients are under my care, where they are in the hospital and what their latest results are.
Information governance and patient safety exists to ensure the safekeeping of the data that we hold about all Welsh residents or Welsh patients.
We see the Welsh Clinical Portal used extensively throughout NHS Wales. Using some recent audit data, we were able to identify the Swansea Bay University Health Board are accessing the Welsh Clinical Portal every minute of every day across the working week, and up to 20 times per minute during peak hours.
I think the Welsh Clinical Portal is an absolutely essential tool. I don't know where I'd be without it. I use it every day to help me make safe decisions for my patients.
Going forwards, I don't think you can survive without digital healthcare. I think it's the way of the future.
I'd encourage any healthcare professional to make the time to engage with the digital teams across NHS Wales to get a login, to get access to the system that provides accessibility to over 211 million test results, 35 million care documents, 3.1 million GP records, including medicines. It'll help you deliver better care.
Great. Well, so wi'n dod o Geredigion a byddwn ni'n gael rhywbeth o'na'n good thing. Ond mae'n sesiwn ni nawr wedi gorffen, so wi'n mynd i drosglwyddo a pasio chi mlaen i Sarah Jane Taylor i sôn am y bobl ardderchog sydd gyda ni'n gweithio yn DHCW.
Thank you. Yes, we recognise that in order to achieve our ambition and deliver high quality digital services, it's really developed on our people. We need the right people at the right time with the right skills, and to develop and support them as we move forward with the organisation. So can I just have the next slide, please? Thank you. Yeah. What we've done in the last year is made some really good strides forward. We were creating an organisation and have done so far, and building on that as we move forward to create an organisation where people flourish, and we deliver all of our commitments, and a culture which embodies our values and behaviours, which are really close to our hearts. So some of the key metrics really are that we've grown as an organisation fairly substantively. 53% of our workforce have gained promotion and progression over the last year. So we've definitely supported our grow your own and development features, but also brought in new talent and people from the external marketplace into the organisation. It's been a really good balance, and we're building on that this year. We've also made some really good inroads in lots of things really, and we've got a low turnover rate. We've supported our partnership working through our trade unions, our academic partners across the education sector, a number of businesses and charities and so forth, to work together to understand, you know, the requirements of people wanting to join our organisation and what would be good for them as well as good for our business and our delivery. So it's been a really positive first year, lots of achievements. Can I just have the next slide on the culture and organisational development? As you can see, there's lots of stuff that has been achieved, and I think there's a couple of things in here that which are really important to all of us really on the board. We've gone through a couple of very disruptive and difficult years for everybody within the NHS environment, but culturally within, you know, the community and the country with the pandemic. And this has had a massive impact on staff. And you know, the new ways of working, some of which includes how we're working differently in different settings, still with a mind to, you know, deliver the services and high performance and high quality, but also to make sure as an organisation we are, you know, people feel part of the organisation, feel supported, they feel developed and encouraged and so forth. So it's been a real mixture of things really. So we've introduced a lot of things under our health and wellbeing focus, making sure people understand that there's places that they can go and talk to people, there's information sets that have been available to them. We've set up our mental health first aiders, we've received a gold corporate health standard. I think we've been one of the only, and I'm not saying I'm taking all the, similar to what Ivan's just said, not all under my watch. So this is the team that I now look after and colleagues that have been involved in this. We've achieved, I think, the first organisation in the UK to achieve the certification against BS 76000 and BS 7605, which is the British standard for developing people and diversity. As part of our commitment to people practices that were principled, relevant and developmental. So that's a massive accolade for the organisation. And again, I've been in post a couple of months now, so it's building on all that brilliant work that's already part of the foundation to take that forward, to support us being a digital and indeed a wider employer of choice, and to help people with their development. Some of the things that happened last year as well, which have been fantastic, is the staff recognition scheme, which was a tremendous success, and I started just when that happened. Actually, that was absolutely marvellous. And one of the things, really, if you're thinking about joining the NHS and looking at perhaps a digital career, you know, we are very much supporting new talent coming into the organisation. We are a growing organisation. We're supporting a number of individuals in the organisation at the moment with degrees, with master's degrees and PhDs. Very vocational, very career supporting. So there's lots of things, both in-house courses, supporting development, talent, succession planning. I'm putting a new strategy in place for 2022-23 onwards, probably a 3-year, 5-year horizon, which is going to build on all of that. So, you know, hopefully we will have some videos in the future, in future years, where people will be saying things that what they started doing and what they've been developed into, and their career aspirations have been achieved so far. So really exciting stuff, and some really passionate and energized people that are doing some great stuff in this space, and really welcome people to have a think about joining us, and potentially if you've got an interview, come and have a look at the AGM video. There's loads of information on here which I'm sure will help you, and indeed contact my people and organisational development team as well. I'll pass back over to Ivan now. I think we've got some more information on the commitment to Welsh language, which has been a tremendous success to date. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, SJ. Ga I roi atgoffiad arall I bobl I holi unrhyw gwestiynau. Os oes gyda nhw gwestiynau, mae gyda chi tan diwedd y sesiwn sydd jyst ar yn ôl I, so byddai'n trosglwyddo I Claire yn cyfarwyddwr cyllid, a mae angen I chi gyflwyno unrhyw gwestiynau cyn iddi hi orffen. Wy'n falch iawn o fod yn bencampwr dros iaith Gymraeg ar y bwrdd gyda Marian Wyn-Jones, un o'n aelodau annibynnol, a un annog ac yn cefnogi y sefydliad I ddefnyddio mwy o'r Gymraeg yn atebol yn y bwrdd I wneud hynny, a hefyd yn arwyddo y Gymraeg trwy gyfrwng digidol ar draws yr NHS yng Nghymru. Fel corff mae DHCW wedi ymrwymo I ddefnyddio y Gymraeg a dwyieithrwydd, cefnogi hynna ni'n ddiweddar wedi penodi rheolwr gwasanaethau Cymraeg swyddog y Gymraeg mwyn datblygu yn gwaith ni ar y Gymraeg. A un o ffrwythau hynny yw bod ni yn ddiweddar iawn wedi mynd allan gyda'n cynllun iaith Gymraeg. Mae hwnna, mae'n ymgynghoriad agored ar hwnnw ar hyn o bryd, bydd yn cael dwi'n meddwl reit ar ddiwedd mis Medi. Byddwn ni'n annog chi I ymateb I hwnna, os oes gyda chi diddordeb yn y maes hyn, ac yn amlwg I ni wedi gweithio'n agos iawn gyda Comisiynydd yr Iaith Gymraeg ar cynnwys y cynllun iaith hwnnw. Mae hynna I gyd ynglyn â cydymffurfiaeth yn amlwg. Ochr yn ochr ar cydymffurfiaeth I ni'n gweithio'n agos iawn gyda'n gweithlu er mwyn bod gyda ni y gallu a'r sgiliau a'r capacity I ddosbarnu'r gwasanaethau Cymraeg ac I gefnogi'r Gymraeg o fewn yn gweithlu trwy hybu diwylliant sydd yn agored i'r Gymraeg, trwy nifer o weithgareddau amrywiol sy'n cynnwys datblygu'r Gymraeg fel sgil, fel bod bobl yn gallu caffael y Gymraeg, a hefyd rhoi cyfle I bobl I ddefnyddio'r Gymraeg wrth bod nhw'n mynd o gwmpas I gwaith. Dwi'n meddwl mae'r peth sydd yn lle wy'n gweld mwy o gyfle, mwy o cyffroes yw yn gyntaf sut yn dechnegol I ni'n trin y Gymraeg. Mi fydd yr app newydd sydd yn cael ei lansio cyn bo hir. Gyntaf bydd ganddo fe rhyngwyneb Cymraeg a Saesneg drwyddi draw tebyg iawn i'r NHS Covid-19 app. Bydde rhai bobl wedi defnyddio fel bod y cynnyrch y meddalwedd I hun yn gwbl ddieithog. Bydd e hefyd yn galluogi bobl I gofnodi neu I ddatgan I dewis iaith nhw. A mi fydd hynna wedyn yn llifo mewn i'r cofnod iechyd a gofal. Mae yna lot fawr o waith gyda ni I wneud I sicrhau bod bob system sy'n cael ei ddefnyddio yn gallu olrhain y dewis iaith hynny a gallu ymateb iddo fe ymhell dros 100 o wasanaethau digidol gwahanol yn cael ei defnyddio llawer iawn o'r hynna yn cael ei darparu gan bartneriad, nid wedi cael ei datblygu gennym ni yn hunain. A felly mi fydd yna flynyddoedd dyn ni'n meddwl cyn bod bob system sy'n cael ei ddefnyddio dros Prydain neu yng Nghymru yn gallu deall sut I ymateb I dewis iaith, achos dyw hyn ddim just am y Gymraeg, mae yna dewis iaith arall I gael yn rhan eraill o Prydain. A wedyn yn olaf, yw mynd Tu hwnt I gydymffurfiaeth a ffindio gwerth yn y Gymraeg. Mae'r Gymraeg yn arf glinigol wythnos nesaf, mi fydd y Llywodraeth yn lansio fersiwn diweddar y strategaeth genedlaethol ar gyfer NHS Cymru, mwy na geiriau yn yr Eisteddfod Genedlaethol. Mewn rhai sefyllfaoedd mae'r Gymraeg yn gwbl angenrheidiol ar gyfer gofal o ansawdd, ond hefyd mae yna werth ychwanegol i'r Gymraeg mewn sawl ffordd gwahanol. Yn cynnig cyfle I bobl yng Nghymru sydd wedi bod trwy addysg ddwyieithog I gael gyrfa gyfan trwy gyfrwng Gymraeg, enghraifft, ac I fyw mewn cymunedau yn ei Gymraeg fel rhan o'r gwaith I ni'n gwneud gyda'r economi leol a gyda cyfleoedd gyrfa lleol. Felly mae yna lot fawr I wneud ar y Gymraeg. Cam cyntaf yw'r cydymffurfiaeth a'r safon a'r cynllun sydd gyda ni'n dod allan cyn bo hir, a wy'n gwybod bod yna frwydfrydedd trwy'r corff a mi fyddai Marian yn cefnogi hynna gymryd fedrwn ni fel pencampwyr. Gyda hynna, wisa pasio chi mlaen nawr I Claire Osmondson-Little yn cyfarwyddwr cyllid, a bydd hi yn sôn am Marian sydd wrth gwrs yn rhan allweddol iawn o'r adroddiad blynyddol fel nath Helen sôn reit ar y cychwyn.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Ifan. Good afternoon For many reasons, this has not been a typical year for DHEW and the health service in Wales. During the first year, DHEW has worked hard not only to produce a balanced set of financial accounts for 2021-22, but also to establish the key financial systems and controls to support the operational running of the organisation to allow it to meet its objectives. We've also had to do the financial decoupling from our previous host organisation, Blynyddol NHS Trust, which was completed with the assets and liability transferred to the DHEW and agreed and audited. This was the first of many milestones achieved during the year, and in the following 4 slides, I would like to summarise the reflections of the 2021 financial performance, the funding and the associated spend, and some of the key future year issues. DHEW has spent £169.9 million this year, split 131 million revenue with 38 million or 38.8 million capital investment. And those fundings have been to support activity in 3 key areas. The most important is the operational services support, which is the operational running of the organisation itself, including all its national applications, which Ivan has alluded to, also the infrastructure, primary care and IMTP support. We've also, again, supported the COVID-19 response. We've developed the provision of digital solutions to support the test, trace and protect, but also the mass immunisation system, or WIS as we call it. We've also received funding for the Digital Priorities Investment Fund, which supports the delivery, development and implementation of key digital solutions and business change. DHEW has achieved all its statutory and financial targets, namely to remain within its revenue and capital funding limits. And at the end of the year, we did end the year with a surplus of 366,000 and to also remain within our capital limits. And at the end of the year, we had a 10,000 underspend. We also have to ensure that we have a planning target. And this initial plan was approved by this board earlier in 2021. And the annual accounts demonstrate delivery of those plans within budget. So whilst at the same time, our annual accounts were delivered on time and with an unqualified opinion, which again is another milestone. Not only do we have our statutory requirements, DHEW has also achieved its administration and other financial targets set by Welsh Government. We have met our public sector payment policy target. This policy requires the organisation to pay all its suppliers within the 95% of all the suppliers within 30 days. And as you can see, the DHEW managed to achieve 98%. Equally, we have a cash ceiling, and our balance was required to be within not to exceed 2 million. And I know the team worked hard to ensure at the end of the year, we had 1.5 million as a bank balance. The achievement of these key targets evidences the hard work of the organisation right across the key processes to deliver its financial objectives. And I'd like to share my thanks to the organisation for their support and contribution. The next slide shows really, it shows 2 things. It shows where the money comes from and how we spend it. The dark blue bars highlight where our funding comes from. This has been simplified somewhat into 3 or 4 key areas. The biggest of which you can see is Welsh Government. Welsh Government gives DHEW £88.4 million. Within that, though, the direct funding that is within the DHEW's responsibility to allocate and fund is 39 million. And the balance remains to distinct activities that DHEW delivers. NHS Wales relates to the other health boards and trusts that we support on behalf of the Welsh Government. Of that 40 million, almost 9 million of that is direct SLA funding that again equates to responsibilities for this board to allocate to key areas of responsibility. So the direct funding allocation for DHEW board is around £48 million. It then now take you to our expenditure. As you can see, there are 3 key colours there, and they relate to our key expenditure areas. The key aspects there is our core services, and these relate to delivery of not only infrastructure and development, but information, clinical and support functions across the organisation. In addition, we'll have capital charges, and these relate to the usage of our assets and the depreciation of our assets. And then finally, we have our Digital Priorities Investment Fund and the COVID response. Next slide, please. In addition to our revenue spend, we also have our key capital priorities. This graph highlights the key capital spend items for this financial year. Within that, you can see that our total capital spend was 10.9 million, in addition to the 27 million that we had as a result of our decoupling from Blynyddol. Of that 10 million, you can see that the highest level of spend was in our digital priority area, followed by our discretionary capital that really focused on our infrastructure investment, followed by our responses to the COVID pandemic. Next slide. So in conclusion, whilst DHEW has worked hard to implement the financial frameworks and systems to deliver the 2021-22 position, we are now looking forward on working with our stakeholders and our internal and external partners to deliver the challenges, but also to look about how we structure DHEW to have a sustainable financial footing to ensure that we create value in our investment in digital, and also to look at the importance around other economic factors, such as in digital inflation. So we will continue to pursue and create value across NHS Wales. Finally, I'd like to show a short video, which really I hope brings all of these numbers to life, of our first financial position for DHEW for 2021-22. Now I'm going to hand you back to our Chief Executive Officer, Helen Thomas.
Diolch, Claire, and well done actually, bringing the first time I think I've seen the annual accounts of any organisation being brought to life in that way, so da iawn, Claire. So our first year as a Special Health Authority has been, hopefully we've shared how exciting and challenging it has been over the first 12 months. And we felt really proud, as I think is coming across hopefully to you on the as part of the AGM, and we're really proud to support the work that happens and the tremendous work of our colleagues right across NHS Wales. And we know that what we are doing is essential to the efficient and effective care of the people of Wales. So looking ahead, we will continue to support NHS Wales staff with next generation systems and data solutions to provide the insights that we need to support the people of Wales in their health and care. So some of the key areas that we are focused on is furthering the work that we've been doing with digitalising the nursing processes through the Welsh Nursing Care Record. The new system for critical care units will start rollout this year, and the emergency care system will expand the rollout, and really exciting the further development of citizen-facing platforms. As a forward-thinking organisation, we'll continue to work with our stakeholders and partners as that trusted strategic partner to ensure that our digital solutions make life easier for all, have a real impact, and place health data and quality at the core of all that we do. We've made significant progress in the last year in decarbonising our estate, but we also know there's a lot more that we need to do in that area. We've got our decarbonisation strategic plan in place now, and that's allowing us to take a fresh look at our buildings and energy needs, as well as our procurement and our travel and other emission sources. We're probably in a unique position to contribute towards reducing carbon emissions across Wales by providing and improving digital solutions that will limit the need for some of the travel and the services and processes that drive up and contribute to climate change. And they are things like offering digital transfer and storing of data and documents so that we can make information available wherever it needs to be made available, enabling mobile working of the workforce, and supporting our workforce to work with it wherever they need to. And we want to do all of that in partnership. As a public body, it's important that our partners, service users and the people of Wales have confidence in the work that we're doing. So we have a mantra of working in the open, being open and transparent in all that we do. And effective engagement helps us translate our stakeholder and user needs into our strategy and product and service developments. And as a listening organisation, everything we do is in partnership with our stakeholders, including health boards, trusts, primary care, social care, life sciences, industry and academia. And we hold regular meetings with the exec teams of the health boards, trusts, the SHA, the other SHA and the shared service throughout the year to ensure that we are aligning our strategic priorities as organisations. And we also have more detailed meetings with our colleagues right across Wales as part of our service level agreements with them. And we will be focusing on our staff, and I think that, you know, our staff in DHCW, they're the heart and soul of the organisation. An organisation is its people, and we are really focused in on developing our staff, on attracting the staff that we need, and on making this the best place to work in IT as you know, going forward. So a lot of the work that we're doing is in increased collaboration with the education sector. We've got the Wales Institute for Digital Information as a triumvirate partnership. We're also working with a range of Welsh universities to ensure that we've got the pathways in place to develop our staff and our staff of the future. We are attending and running job fairs and are looking at virtual career events as well. And as you'll have heard from Sarah Jane, our people and OD strategy has a real focus on developing our own people and ensuring that we attract and retain a diverse, inclusive, talented workforce. And as Simon said, our success is all due to our amazing staff. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say a heartfelt thank you to the hard work and dedication of all of our staff and all of the team at DHCW. So thank you. And back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Helen, and thank you very much, team, for taking us through an awful lot of things that we're doing and areas of our performance. And in many respects, we've only just scratched the surface of the work of DHCW in the past hour or so. So thank you all very much for that. So I'm just going to move us into the question section now. We haven't had any questions coming through during the AGM today, but we have got a number that was submitted in advance, which I will ask members of the exec team to address and respond to, if that's okay. And the first one I'm going to throw your way, Ivan, if I may, which is, and you touched on this in your presentation anyway, but perhaps expand a little bit on, and the question is about a specific comparison. As is often the case in Wales, we do this, but a specific comparison between how did our Welsh digital health and care approach in response to the pandemic compare to the English digital health and care response?
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Gai ateb mewn 3 ffordd gwahanol. Mae yna sawl peth sydd yr un peth rhwng Cymru a Lloegr. A wy'n credu mae'r lle mwyaf amlwg fyna oedd yr proximity tracking app, yr NHS COVID-19 app, lle mae dim ond un oedd i gael i Gymru a Lloegr. Wnaethon ni ddatblygu fe ar y cyd, oedd e'n amleithog, oedd e'n gallu ymateb i polisi tipyn bach yn wahanol i Gymru a Lloegr, ond mae'n dangos sut oedd y brif broblem, neu oedd y dasg yr un peth yn y ddwy wlad, a mi wnaethon ni wneud yn union yr un ffordd gan ddefnyddio yr un platfform digidol wedi addasu at y ddwy wlad ag amrywiol ieithoedd. A fi'n credu bod yna lot sydd yn gyffredin. A wedyn, yr ail thema yw olrhain cyswllt, contact tracing, mewn ar un lefel. Wnaethon ni wneud yr un peth a Lloegr, sef system genedlaethol a defnyddio galwadau ffôn i geisio adnabod bobl oedd wedi cael Covid positif a dilyn lan ar y cysylltiadau. Fi'n credu mae peth oedd yn wahanol, oedd yn gyntaf yng Nghymru wnaethon ni'n gwneud yna trwy'r sector gyhoeddus, trwy bartneriaethau rhwng awdurdodau lleol a'r NHS. Yn Lloegr, mi wnaethon nhw outsourcio hwnna i gwmnïau preifat. Yng Nghymru, fel o'n i'n sôn yn gynt, gaethon ni well ansawdd o wasanaeth, gwell allbynau a outcomes, a mi wnaethon ni wneud ar gost cryn dipyn yn is. Wy'n credu bod hwnna'n rhannol oherwydd y ffordd wnaethon ni fynd o'i chwmpas i, gweithio'n agos iawn, oedd yna alwadau bob dydd bron gyda 31 sefydliad yng Nghymru. Mae'n anodd iawn, a bod yn onest, mae'n anodd gwneud hynny gyda dros 200 o sefydliadau yn Lloegr, a just yr NHS yw hwnna. Mae'r awdurdodau lleol ar ben hynny, felly mae yna rai pethau mae'n haws gwneud yn Nghymru nag yn Lloegr. Ond wy'n credu dath y bartneriaeth yna trwy'r gwerthoedd oedd ar y cyd rhwng ni a'r awdurdodau lleol, a'r ffaith bod hynna'n adeiladu ar bartneriaethau oedd wedi bod o'r blaen, Regional Partnership Boards, a nifer o beth eraill oedd gyda ni yng Nghymru, yn galluogi ni wneud pethau mewn ffordd gwahanol, a oedd Public Health Wales yn rhan agos iawn o'r broses o'n i'n defnyddio yng Nghymru. A wedyn o ran y vaccine platform Wiz, wy'n credu oedd tipyn bach mwy amser, ond ddim yn teimlo fel hynny ar y pryd, ond tipyn bach mwy amser i fynd at y dasg yna a datblygu cynnyrch oedd gyda ni a'i ail bwrpasu fe. Felly mi oedd yna system genedlaethol gyda ni, nid un wedi gynllunio i wneud pethau fel wnaethon ni wneud gyda brychlynu, ond oedd y system oedd DHCW yn fewnol yn gallu datblygu, ehangu a mynd allan. Wy'n credu mae rhai o'r pethau diddorol i fi yw beth oedd tu cefn i rheina, A un o'r pethau wi'n meddwl sydd wedi bod yn werth defnyddiol iawn i ni yw'r Welsh Pandemic Record. Oedd yn lot fawr o ddata yn mynd ar draws y ffin rhwng Cymru a Lloegr trwy'r broses mae i gyd. Bobl yn cael brechlyn yng Nghymru oedd yn byw yn Lloegr, y ffordd arall gwmpas, manylion test booking, nifer o beth eraill. Oedd angen i ni gael ffordd ddiogel o gasglu'r data na i gyd a gwirio'r data yn gwneud siŵr bod yr ansawdd yn ddigonol. A doedd e ddim yn y dyddiau cynnar. Felly oedd yna broses fyna ynglyn â delio gyda maint sylweddol iawn o ddata mewn ffordd effeithiol. Ac eto wy'n credu o'n i'n gweithio tipyn bach yn wahanol i Lloegr yn y ffordd o'n i'n gwneud hynny. Mae rhaid rhoi clod i'r tîmoedd oedd yn gweithio ar hyn. Oedd bobl yn gweithio trwy'r dydd a'r nos. Tîmoedd bychan, yn gweithio mewn sprints, yn gweithio'n ddwys iawn, yn gweithio'n agos iawn gyda clinigwyr, gyda defnyddwyr proffesiynol a nifer o beth eraill. A mae'n wir bod yn haws gwneud hynny mewn tîmoedd llai na mewn sefydliad llawer iawn mwy a mwy cymhleth. A'r peth olaf ddylen ni weid oedd bod gweinidogion yng Nghymru yn agos iawn i'r broses. Felly o'n i'n gweithio gyda Lloegr ar lefel bolisi, o'n i'n gallu gweld bod Downing Street a Llywodraeth yn aml yn eitha pell i ffwrdd o delivery, ond oedd yn wahanol iawn yng Nghymru. Ar y prif fôn gething oedd y gweinidog iechyd, gyda Matric fydd o'r prif gweinidog. O'n nhw'n cymryd y data off systemau DHCW bob dydd. O'n nhw'n cael data o fewn 24 awr yn fyw o'r system ac yn gwneud penderfyniadau polisi yn seiliedig ar y data hynna yn rhyfeddol. Dyn ni ddim wedi gwneud hynny o'r blaen, mae eisiau ni gwneud hynny lot mwy. Ond mi o'n nhw'n agos iawn at y delivery yn cyfarfod ar un pwynt, 2 gwaith yr wythnos am awr bob tro, er mwyn edrych ar y data oedd yn dod o'r llinell flaen trwy'r systemau o'n i'n darparu a wedyn yn gwneud penderfyniadau polisi'n seiliedig ar hynny. Felly fi'n credu bod yna lot fawr i fod a balchder mawr iawn ynddo o'i gymaru â sut ath i mewn rhai sefyllfaoedd yn Lloegr.
Thank you very much, Ivan. That's very comprehensive, taking us through some of the experiences of our approach to the pandemic in Wales. Now, the next question I'm going to direct at Helen, and it does sound quite a technical question, though I know Helen is going to give us an answer that I can understand and help me understand the question. So the question is, Helen, a lot is said about open architecture. Why is this important, and what does it mean for us, DHCW, and for NHS Wales?
Thank you, Chair. You won't get a technical answer from me. It's an open architecture. It's about a safe and standard mechanism for moving data about a patient around the health and care system. That's what it's there to do. It means that information can be available wherever it is needed for and about a patient and whenever it is needed. So what DHCW's role is to provide the platform and the services and the way that data can move from one place to the other. So we provide the technical architecture and the platforms that allow that to happen, and the standard messages that mean that data can move, and also actually the standards and frameworks that mean that we do that in a safe and secure and ethical way. And what does it mean for NHS Wales? Well, it means the data is available. It means that access to that data is available, but it also means that it's the foundations of that other services can innovate from, by connecting into the architecture to innovate and develop new ways of working and new tools and applications that will use the national architecture to improve health and care process out there in Wales. Does that help?
It does. I think I understand. Thank you, Helen. And if I understand them, everyone else will. Question here about e-prescribing, which you touched on in your presentation, Rydian. So perhaps I'll come to you first, and Ivan, you as the program was within your division directorate, perhaps you'd like to come in after Rydian. So what does e-prescribing, which we're now describing, as you know, as the digital medicines portfolio, mean? When will it be rolled out? When are people going to see something? And what are the implications for staff, across the whole range of healthcare, both secondary and primary, and patients and citizens? Rydian.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose I'll describe it as a journey, really. I think when once you say your GP and you require some tablets, the traditional paper process means that you get given a piece of paper and you pitch up somewhere to cash it in. So the first part of digital medicines will be the ability for that piece of paper to disappear and a legible record to arrive wherever you as an individual want to pick up those medicines. Another important part of it will be the delivery of a single source of the truth about the medicines you as an individual will be on. And we've got very good evidence in secondary care that medicines reconciliation, which is a process of essentially a pharmacist in a hospital checking what tablets you should be having, and then the doctor prescribing the tablets that you should be having, working together and saving time because they can access a record where those medicines are initially visible, but ultimately are directly imported into that clinical interface. Electronic prescribing and electronic dispensing come with some great benefits, and it's not for me I don't need really to articulate more than the literature says. It comes with massive safety benefits for patients. It comes with clinical decision support for interactions between tablets that may be missed by sort of the human brain. When we consider how many different types of tablets, different names, the generic names and the trade names, the complexity associated with polypharmacy, then it's an absolute no-brainer. It will rely on some key investment in terms of the hardware and connectivity to replace the paper process, but ultimately it will provide safer, better care, and that's what we all want from digital transformation processes. I'll leave Ivan to explain the details, further details of the program and potential delivery timelines.
Thanks, Rudy. And so Ivan, you're on the spot now. When are we going to see something, and what are we going to see, and what are the milestones in the delivery of wider e-prescribing?
Yeah, okay. So, os o'n i yn cymryd dull traddodiadol at wneud y gwaith yma, mi fydden ni yn llunio achos busnes llawn yn beth sy'n cael ei alw yn rhaeadr neu waterfall style, a mi fydde hynna yn disgrifio dros sawl blwyddyn, faint o amser mae'n mynd i gymryd i wneud y gwaith hyn i gyd, a wedyn bydden ni mwy na thebyg yn mynd allan i bwrcasu partner i wneud y gwaith hyn i gyd i ni. Mewn systemau iechyd cymhleth, o'n graddfa ni, mi fydde hynna'n raglen, bydden ni'n meddwl, rhwng 6 a 8 mlynedd ar y gorau mwyn gwneud beth sydd gyda ni fel uchelgais. Dim dyna fel ni'n mynd o'i chwmpas i. I ni'n mynd i fod yn llawer iawn mwy ystwyth, felly ni'n defnyddio agile program methodology. Ac i wneud hynny, ni wedi torri'r portfolio mewn i 4 elfen. Un yw ysbytau, un yw gofal cychwynnol, un yw cofnod, y medicines record, sef rhan o'r cofnod data cenedlaethol, a beth oedd Rhydian yn cyfeirio at. A'r pedwerydd yw mynediad i'r claf at eu cofnod nhw trwy yr app bydd yn cael ei lansio yn ystod y misoedd nesaf. Mae'n elfennau gwahanol a mae'n bartneriaid allweddol i bob elfen o hyn, felly ni'n gweithio gyda NHS Digidol yn Lloegr ar y gofal cychwynnol, enghraifft, a ni ar hyn o bryd yn pwrcasu fframwaith ar gyfer y cwmnïau byddwn ni'n gweithio gyda yn yr ysbytau. Achos mae yna sawl cynnyrch eiddfed ar gyfer Electronic Prescribing Medicines Administration, so EPMA systems. Dyw e ddim yn gwneud synwyr i ni adeiladu ni'n hunain from scratch. Mae'n llawer iawn gwell bod ni'n prynu un o'r systemau sydd yn bodoli ar hyn o bryd. Mi fydd y cyntaf o'r rheina yng Nghaerdydd, Caerdydd ar Fro. Byddwn ni'n disgwyl gweld hwnna, bydd rollout yn cychwyn blwyddyn nesaf yn 2023. Mae yna rhai byrdde iechyd eraill sydd hefyd yn frwdfrydig iawn i ddilyn yn gyflym iawn. Mae Caerdydd yn awyddus i symud yn gyflym, mae'r Gweinidog yn awyddus i symud yn gyflym iawn hefyd. A ni'n cynllunio yn erbyn amserlen o rhwng 2 a 5 mlynedd am y broses gyfan i gael bob elfen allan hynna. Mae hynna'n amserlen uchelgeisiol. A mae Gweinidog yn gwybod hynna, mae disgwyliadau hi hefyd yn glir bod ni'n cyrraedd yr uchelgais, a mi fyddwn ni'n gwneud popeth fedrwn ni'n neud i gyrraedd yr uchelgais yna. Dyna pam i ni'n gweithio mewn ffordd ystwyth, dyna pam i ni'n defnyddio agile program methodology, dyna pam i ni'n gweithio yn agos iawn gyda'n partneriad. Ond allai ddim tan ddweud pa mor gymleth yw'r rhaglen hyn. Mae darparu systemau digidol ar gyfer meddyginiaethau ar draws bob ysbyty yng Nghymru a bob setting gofal cychwynnol yng Nghymru, cael rhain i gyd i siarad gyda'i gilydd, delio gyda'r cymhlethdod yr amrywiaeth sydd i gael o feddyginiaethau, a hefyd darparu y wybodaeth yna i bob defnyddiwr proffesiynol ac i bob claf ar draws Cymru in real time. Mae hynna'n rhywbeth eitha uchelgeisiol. Ond dyna be ni'n bwriadu gwneud, a ni'n benderfynol o gyflawni hynny. Mae wy'n gwybod y tîm yn gweithio'n galed iawn ar hynny, a maen nhw'n cael cefnogaeth o'n partneriaid ni ar draws yr NHS yng Nghymru. Felly wy'n parhau fod yn optimistaidd, a fel eich chi'n gwybod, wy bob amser yn glas half full. Mae'n gwybod wastad yn hanner llawn, ond mae fe'n gyffroes tu hwnt. Mae'n gyffroes tu hwnt, a ni yn ar hyn o bryd yn disgwyl cyrraedd yr amserlen hynny o rhwng 2 a 5 mlynedd.
Thank you, Ivan. It sounds like an overflowing glass, not a half full glass. We have had a question in, and absolutely no reason at all why we can't take this. So I think, Rigian, you might want to take this question first, but then please, anyone else of the exec team put their hand up if they want to come in after. So the question, Rigian, is how do you explain to patients how electronic medical records work and other electronic ways of storing and transferring personal medical information, how that works? And then a really critical thing that I know gets to the heart of some key issues, particularly around the data promise. How do you ensure that people give consent to that use of their data?
Okay, so I mean, to explain electronic health record, one has to imagine where we've come from in terms of the paper record within secondary care. So a set of notes that a healthcare professional would write in around your care model. If we go back 30 years in general practice, it would have been a piece of paper commonly known as a David Lloyd George note. So your record consists of those elements that I explained. Used to be Kodak images on Kodak film. Now that's a digital image. It used to be blood test results on bits of paper stuck in the back of the notes. That's now visualized as lists of results within an electronic system that can give graphs of trends and tables, and the care document, the stories of your care journey and the things that have happened to you that traditionally would have been written on paper are created digitally, stored digitally. And I suppose it's the storage thing and where the data going that concerns all of us, the privacy about our data. So the implementation of software that we deliver goes through a rigorous patient safety and an information governance assurance process with privacy impact assessments and similar elements related to national and international standards. We have the cybersecurity element, which has been commented on earlier. When we work with trusted partners that use some of the information for systems that provide care, those systems, those commercial systems, have to comply to the standards that we set for the software. In terms of consent models, so there's a couple of things about consent. So there's implied consent. So, for example, you pitch up into a hospital and you're unconscious. People have to do things to get you to be conscious. When people have, say, a heart attack and people do CPR, there's an implied consent unless someone has specifically stated that they don't want any intervention. And then there's consent which is done in less acute situations. So let's say 2 weeks before an operation, you might sit down with a surgeon like me and talk about the pros and cons, and then you sign documentation that demonstrates that you've had an opportunity to ask the questions that you want to ask and that you're aware of common, occasional and rare complications. In our arrangements, and one of the skills and one of the things I'm very proud of that we've done in Wales and why we've been so successful in sharing the individual's GP record across Wales is that we worked in partnership with our GP community to develop a consent model where patients can remove their information from the system should they so wish. And it's amazing how few people actually do that in a GP environment because of the information and the trust that we've built up around what happens to data. And it can direct care model of consent. So then we use information on an individual to help their family, and that might be related to say, information that is anonymized, that is, the true identity is removed, and that information can be collated. So, for example, information about diabetic patients in a community can be collated in a way that no one is identified, but that information can add value to all those diabetic patients across that community. And really, if we look at what the vision is to extract value out of the healthcare data and the longitudinal care record that we're collecting across Wales, that is to help you as an individual, your family, your community, think of it as your valley, your region, your network, and your nation, so that you can receive equitable, high quality care regardless of where you are in Wales. There's a lot in that. How you land the data promise will be something that we'll see in collaboration with partnership, including Welsh Government, and we'll learn the lessons that have previously happened and concerns that are raised by public when other close nations have tried to have that conversation and have not delivered it, or at least it's been a suboptimal conversation. My belief, and I would hope that, well, I'm absolutely sure that we as an organisation concur with the belief that we are here to deliver patient-centric care, to provide the best care that we can for an individual, but learn from that care so that we can help everyone within the nation. And that aligns with policy, a healthier Wales, and is one of the is the sort of founding principles of our workforce. That's what we're in it for. And that's why I think that element of trust, building up that relationship between the healthcare professional and the individual is so key to the delivery of our ambition.
Thank you, Rudy, and I think that covers the elements of that question really well. And as you say, I mean, we'll be working closely with Welsh Government and others through this year around that contract between government, the wider public sector, and the individual around their personal information, their personal data, and be a very important conversation for people in Wales to get involved in. And a final question, which I think I'm going to have to direct at you, Ivan, is I mean, obviously you referred to this in your presentation. Our first really big citizen-facing digital tool is going to start coming our way later this year. And perhaps you can talk a little bit more about that. But you know, what will the NH app do as far as, I mean, what does Ivan think the NHS Wales app is going to do, and also what does the organisation think is going to do for citizens of Wales, and perhaps give us a little bit of a flavour of when we can expect to see and what we can expect to see over coming months and years.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Simon. Felly, yn gyntaf, o ran beth mae'r app yn gallu gwneud, mi fydd e'n gwneud popeth mae'r app yn Lloegr yn gwneud a rhagor. A rheswm am hynny yw i ni'n ddiolchgar iawn i NHS Digital yn Lloegr i roi i ni y code base ar gyfer yr NHS app. Felly, do'n i ddim yn gallu defnyddio'r app fel oedd e. Mae fe'n Saesneg yn unig, does na ddim rhyngwyneb Cymraeg. A mae yna rai pethau eraill o'n i eisiau gwneud yn ychwanegol. Felly, mis Tachwedd llynedd, wnaethon nhw roi'r code base cyfan i ni, a ni wedi bod yn gweithio ar hynna ers hynny. Felly, i ni'n manteisio ar popeth maen nhw wedi gwneud yn barod a fedrwn ni adeiladu ar hwnna. Mae fe'n i ddechrau, mi fydd e'n galluogi bobl i weld i apwyntiadau nhw, i gael presgripsiynau newydd, i roi rhywfaint o fanylion ynglyn â'u cofnod a'u dewisiadau gofal nhw yn cynnwys iaith, a cywiro eu cyfeiriad nhw a phethau eraill, a bydd hwn i gyd ar gael yn ddwyieithog. Mi fyddwn ni'n mynd, i ni'n defnyddio dull modern digidol falle ddylwn ni weid, o fynd i rhaglen beta preifat trwy wahoddiad yn unig, bydd yna erbyn diwedd mis Awst, a wedyn mi fydd yn mynd i rhaglen beta cyhoeddus, lle bydd unrhyw un yn gallu defnyddio'r gwasanaeth, ond mi fydd dal i fod yn chwilio am adborth oddi wrth ddefnyddwyr, a wedyn mi fydd yna lansiad sylweddol. Felly, bydden ni'n disgwyl iddo fe fod ar gael i bobl trwy'r beta cyhoeddus, sicr cyn diwedd y flwyddyn, yn yr Hydref, gadwn ni ddweud. Mae gyda ni raglen o tua 6 i 8 wythnos gyda'r private beta sydd yn, mae yna reolaeth, mae yna gwestiynau bydd pobl yn ateb ac yn y blaen. Wy'n credu mae beth sy'n dau beth arall wisau ychwanegu. Un yw, be mae'r app yn gallu gwneud yn dechnegol yn dibynnu i raddau ar beth mae ein partneriad ni'n y system iechyd yn fodlon gwneud o ran agor lan i llyfrau pwyntiad nhw enghraifft. Felly, mi fydd yna appointment booking functionality yn yr app, ond bydd na ddim byd i wneud gyda'r functionality yna, oni bai bod meddyg teulu wedi agor lan rhywfaint o'i llyfr nhw, neu bod outpatient clinic wedi agor lan bethau mae i gyd. Felly ni'n gweithio yn ofalus iawn gyda'n partneriaid ni mwyn i annog nhw i wneud hynny. Mae hynna'n mynd yn bositif, mae gyda ni nifer mae gyda ni sawl practice sy'n mynd i fod yn rhan o'r private beta. Beth wy'n credu sy'n fwy cyffroes yw le mae'r app yn mynd nesaf, mi fydd yn parhau gael ei ddatblygu. Yn ogystal â'r iaith, ni hefyd wedi newid elfennau o'r bensaerniaeth, fel oedd Helen yn sôn am pensaerniaeth agored, fel bod apps gan bobl eraill yn gallu cysylltu gyda'r app NHS Cymru a'n gallu yn dangos rhai o adnoddau nhw trwy'r app. Felly mi fydd yr app yn dod yn borth lle mae bobl yn gallu mynd at beth eraill. Extendable architecture, so ni'n gweud, gyda, wy'n siŵr beth yw'r geiriau Cymraeg am modules, plugins, a'r math o beth. A mi fydd yna system gyda ni sy'n galluogi hynna trwy hynny, bod ni'n gallu agor lan mwy. Hyd yn oed, bore yma, gaethon ni gyflwyniad i'r bwrdd ar gwasanaethau sgrinio enghraifft. Falle bydd yna modiwl ar sgrinio i'r bobl hynny sydd yn gymwys i gael sgrinio, bydde hwnna wedyn yn gallu cael ei dangos iddyn nhw trwy'r app. A wy'n credu mai fyna mae'r cyfleoedd cyffroes iawn. Felly mi fydd ar gael, eleni, a mi fydd yna fwy a fwy o ddoniau'n cael ei ychwanegu iddo fe dros y blynyddoedd.
Yeah, I think you're right, Even. That last bit is potentially very exciting and very, very helpful for people who've got, let's say, a specific condition that they want to get support on or want to get information on, that they can access it through the portal of the app. I mean, that opens up all sorts of opportunities for people becoming much more involved in their own care and understanding their care pathways. So thank you very much for that, Even. I think at that point, we better call a halt to the question and answer session, and all it really remains for me to do is to thank very much the colleagues who've been involved in putting this first AGM together. So it's not like we were relying on previous knowledge of how it's been done in the past. So hopefully those people who've been listening and watching, I think we've made a good fist of that and our first AGM. And if we always keen for feedback on how we might do things differently in the future, and what an AGM might look like in the future, to make it in any way more informative or engaging. Though I have to say, you always learn things, even though you're chair of the organization. I'm sure the independent members feel the same. When you get these presentations, there's always something else you learn about the organization and what the organization does. So thank you all very much for the time you've taken to present today. Thank all of those people who have joined us for the annual general meeting. We can't see you, but we know you're there. Thank you for your interest in our work, and we'll see you all this time next year. Thank you all very much.